second-year mathematician running for the role of website editor. It's a role that obviously requires like technical know-how, but I think with the new company making the website, it's going to be more content-based. It's going to require someone. It's going to be more content-based. So obviously the technical know-how, they're going to have to work with FATSO to get the best kind of deal from this company. But they're also, I think we need to target prospective students. I've looked at other college websites. A lot of them lead with why Collingwood, why Hatfield, why Castle. So I think that's something we need to do. I'm capable of doing this role because I've done it before. I used to run a web design company with a friend. We made websites for schools, we made one for a hotel. So I kind of know how this works. I've got some really good ideas for the website. I think some kind of virtual tour, photo gallery, something along those lines would help prospective students kind of get an idea of what Gray's all about. There are some good features on it at the moment. I like the calendar, but I think more information about the events. At the moment, it's simply the name of the event, the time of the event, but things like price, when bookings open, dress codes. It wouldn't be hard to get that information from emails and put it up there. And I think that's something I could quite easily do, really. Another thing I'd like to do is go through every page. A lot of the information hasn't been updated since 2010. There's the infamous 2006 Freshers video still up. And it's all, I just think it needs to be looked at, really. That's something I would do. To preemptively answer some questions, I didn't run before because I was worried I'd be solely responsible for the formal booking system. And that seems to be a surefire way to get yourself hated in college. I wanted to avoid that, and yeah, I think I can do a good job now. I just think I can do a good job, and yeah, that's about it really. Thanks for listening.
Really? So, do we have any questions for our candidate for website editor? Yes, Emmy.
What do you think of the new website design?
I haven't seen it.
It hasn't been released.
I don't know. I've looked through the minutes and I've checked the email, but I haven't seen it.
It hasn't been released, that's why, so
Yeah.
it's not that you couldn't have done.
Okay. Yes, Nick?
So in the past few years, website editor, their job has been designing and maintaining and making sure the website doesn't explode. With this new development of a company that's going to make this new website, that's going to fundamentally change the role. Do you think that's a positive thing or a negative thing? That the website editor isn't really having that much control over the website itself?
Well, obviously a positive thing. You can see that the role isn't working at the moment, and because they're going to be responsible for the content will obviously improve. So in that way I see it as a positive thing. I hope there will be opportunities to work on the website, because that's something I enjoy doing, it's something I can do. But yeah, overall a positive thing, definitely.
Mr. White, did you have a question?
No, it's been asked.
Right?
You said you've looked at other college websites. What sort of things have you seen on there that you think we could implement on our website?
From what I've seen, they're mostly professionally designed, like ours will be. So that's obviously a positive. They all have events pages, a calendar, and the information, which is what I like. A lot of them have society pages. Now, that's a good idea, but it could be difficult to update if it isn't implemented right, and then it could just get old. And I think we actually have a system for adding societies and sports to our website at the moment, but it obviously isn't used. So it's a nice idea, but if it's not done right, it won't be used and will just be left to rot, really.
Any further questions for Ben? Okay, well thank you, Ben.
Thank you very much. A round of applause, please.
Hello, I'm Pup, I'm a first year and I'm doing PE. That's about it, I'm a great college. So student trustee, I'm sure none of you really, I don't know if you know exactly what it is, but I'm going to tell you anyway. The trustees in general sort of have a lot of control about the goings on in college. It's sort of very much an overview role, and they look at all the decisions that the executive makes and make sure that they're in accordance with the particular aims of the JCR as a charity. For example, those aims are all to do with the advancement of education, promoting the interests of the students, and representing the channel of the students between great college and external bodies, and finally providing a social, cultural and a sort of sporting environment for everyone here. So the student trustee particularly will work with regards to the interests of the students overall, not just the students who are actually in the college, but everyone who's a member of the JCR. So that's the role. So why choose me? So I've got previous experience with very similar roles. I was head boy at a previous school, and I was on something called Principals Council, which is very similar to what goes on here. So so I've got a bit of experience, and I think we should be able to bring that to the role. And what will I actually do if I am elected? I haven't got any major, big breakthrough plans, as my post would suggest. But I will ensure that I know everything that is going on in the college, and that it is actually for the interests of all the students. I'll look over everything thoroughly and make sure that everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing and not breaking any rules. So, thank you very much.
Brilliant. Do we have any questions for the candidate? Yes, Mr.
A large part of the student trustee's role is to ensure that everything the JCR does is legally sound. What would you do if the JCR put on an event which you believed was uncharitable, or engaged in a practice which you believed was contrary to charitable law?
Yeah, so exactly. There's quite a big legal role to be the student trustee. So if there was something that I saw was legally not right, so with regards to the constitution of the JCR, or with regards to the Charity Commission's outlines of what the JCR can actually do. First of all, I would raise the issue to the President, in fact, so everybody involved, and then if it was big enough, and then we'd take it to a meeting, or it depends how big the issue was, but it could go to a trustee meeting, or could be sorted out with the exec. So it'd be along those lines, yeah.
Any further questions?
So obviously student trustee is a position that lots of people don't really know what it's about, and I think lots of people don't even know that person exists. What do you think you could do to increase the visibility of the student trustee position?
I think you're dead right there. As you can see, I'm not actually running against anybody, just steering the wrong. But yeah, no, you're right. I don't necessarily think the student trustee needs to be massively well known in the sense that I'm just this big face around the college. But it's more in terms of getting involved with actual students, because actually asking what you want, what's wrong, what do you think of these people, is trying to get people actually involved. It would just be, you can do questionnaires, you can go out and ask people, you can try and get more people to come to these meetings. So it's along those lines, really, without trying to be a pain to people. So sort of, not being a burden, but trying to get people involved. So, yeah.
As someone that's just finished for a term in 3 weeks, have you got any kind of initial issues that you found you think the JCR may have, which you want to bring to trustee level?
Okay, nothing major. I mean, I've looked over sort of the quarterly report and different minutes and different things. I don't think there's anything that sticks out in my face as oh, this isn't going to benefit the students or anything like that. I think the JCR at the moment, where the table tennis table and all that needs to be revamped a bit. I mean, nothing sort of legally or any events that planned, I don't think, are not in the favour of the students, basically. So yeah, nothing major, just little things here and there. Nothing like walking out with someone else.
Any further questions? Yes, Mr. Hockley.
What do you believe the biggest long-term threat to the JCR is?
The biggest long-term threat? Probably losing all of his money that it's got tied up in all of the funds that then can go on. But yeah, it would probably be monetary. I think nothing. Yeah, I don't think it could be anything else really. So yeah.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you. Big round of applause, please.
Before I begin, it's important I point out the obvious. This is a two-person presidential bout. There are only one candidate here tonight. To use a slightly dodgy boxing metaphor, in the red corner we've got Courtney, person who possibly defines the word overqualified. In the blue, supposedly wrong. We can only presume is still backstage panning up. Only one of your candidates this evening is the warmth, the selflessness, and the motivation to make great better than all he is. It would be my pleasure this evening to explain why this description belongs to Courtney. When I was first asked to propose Courtney, I was flattered, if not a little surprised. Being honest, I didn't really know that well until the first few weeks we spent in our second year as special helpers together. Yet the impression she left on me in that short space of time was huge. It's rare, I think, to find someone who has the enthusiasm, the patience, and the energy to make you feel completely comfortable in a situation that can be as nervous as threats as for freshers. From taking 13 students to their rooms on day one, to organising awkward icebreakers, to walking home at 2 in the morning on server nights out, Courtney was there with a smile on her face throughout and always had something to look forward to. Knowing Courtney as I do now, there is no doubt in my mind that she feels incredibly at home here. College has given her many opportunities to try new and different things, and her tendency to grasp them with both hands hasn't stopped. She's a regular face on ShopCon, ArtsCon, and WayDayCon. In short, she's exactly the sort of person that makes the collegiate experience what it is: exciting, rewarding, and student-led. Behind all the jargon of presidential duties, what fundamental characteristics does one need to be a JCR president? To my mind, 2 things: empathy and commitment. I think it's obvious to anyone who spends time with Courtney, whether for 5 minutes or 5 hours, that she has all these qualities in spades. So much, in fact, you hope someone will rub off on yourself. Elected as JCR Secretary in the first year, and now as your 2015 Grade A Suprema, it doesn't take much to realise that Courtney is a reliable and dedicated candidate. She's given so much to Grade that you can forgive her for not realising she also has a degree to do. Courtney's level of determination, and particularly her willingness to give time for others, are infectious, and I sort of think that anyone else more suited to the presidential role. Thank you.
And you have 6 minutes. Starting now.
Hi everyone. First and foremost, thank you guys for doing that this Sunday night and coming on. It's always lovely to see people at JCR meetings, particularly if you kind of weren't forced to be here and you come with your own motion. I know for some of you that's not quite true, but thanks for us to keep going. My name is Courtney Caton. I'm in the 3rd year studying English Lit, and I'd absolutely love to be on next JCR president. Across my time here, I've been lucky enough to be involved with a crazy amount of things in JCR, but Tal's already mentioned some things about that, so I'll get to the point and tell you a little bit about what the president does, why I made the choice for you, and detail some of my ideas for the year ahead. Hopefully, all of this should help you decide whether or not you'd like to choose me if and when you cast that all-important vote in the next 24 hours. So what does the president do, and why would I be a good choice for you guys? Number 1, the president oversees daily running of JCR and supports the exec. Some of you will have met me at Grey through a variety of societies, committees, and even a little bit of sport. My involvement in all of them has given me a wealth of experience in knowing how JCR works. Whilst I know that it's impossible to simultaneously please everyone, I really think that I have an invaluable base of understanding to fall back on when it comes to supporting college activity over the next year. JCR has a huge amount of potential, and this year alone has seen the creation of multiple new societies. I've been fortunate enough to truly benefit from what we have on offer, but if there's something that you want and you think is missing, I'd be more than happy to help you shape that interest over the next year and continue to build a JCR that reflects what you guys as students really want. Having been on your core exec, I've seen exactly what is expected of them and the types of support that they need. I'll be able to help them do their jobs to the best of their ability and in turn make the service that they provide for you guys in JCR much better. Number 2, the President represents JCR views to college staff and the wider university. As a result of being on various committees, I'm used to forms of information and have been involved with meetings that involve some members of college staff as well. I know it's not easy for staff and students to get along sometimes, but I'm prepared to fight your battles and achieve a common ground always. Number 3, the President acts as a point of contact for anyone in JCR and supports the well-being of all its students. Tal has already mentioned the fact that I was a threat, And that's a microcosmic example of my ability to support students and look out for them as well. And finally, number 4, the President serves as trustee of the Grey College JCR charity and helps maintain its charitable aims. Unlike most Durham's colleges, at Grey we're in a wonderful position of being truly independent, but this comes with its own important responsibilities. As a trustee, the President treads a fine line between providing a day-to-day insight to JCR, to the trustee board, whilst considering long-term implications for the day-to-day running of the JCR. As JCR Secretary, I was the only student aside from the student trustees, the VP and FACSO and President, who was able to attend board meetings, and as a result I already know how it functions. It's a really serious position with a lot of accountability from day one, but it's something that I have previous knowledge about, and in that respect, definitely wouldn't be thrown in the deep end. I've spoken about what makes me an incredible president for you, and now I'm going to detail some of my ideas for the next year ahead to help move your JCR forward. I'm not proposing drastic change, but things to simply support, maintain, and improve what we already have. So when it comes to representing you and promoting Grey JCR, I'd really love to have videos to promote and explain positions. From male work officer to Grey Day Primo to even disabilities rep, I think it'd be great content to provide additional insight to JCR for prospective students and current students together. I'd also bring back a President Weekly video. Previously this has worked really well, and I think bringing back short, sweet and simple content for you guys is an easy way to inform and strengthen our social media. For my exec, I introduced termly goals to keep up manifesto promises. It's really easy for time to run away with you when you've got a position, but I think publicised focused goals are the way to go to make it easy for all the exec to ensure that they're keeping up all the manifesto promises that you voted for. I'd also have best publicity of college support and opportunities. Organisations like the Grey Trust and the Association are there to help you guys, but people who need it don't always know this. I make this better this year and hope that that wouldn't be the case for people miss out. As your president, I remain available. I like spending time with JCR, the office and the bar, and that definitely wouldn't change if I was your president next year. Looking at Grey and beyond, I'd love to introduce JCR inmates. I think JCR works, but the space could be optimised far more. Obviously, this will change following our redevelopment plans, but I want to have established nights in. I think that film nights are the obvious option, and we've got a ton of recent DVDs in Grey Library that are just waiting to be watched. Lots of people. I also really want to introduce monthly Give It a Go nights. Some of us, myself included, can be really lazy when it comes to going down to the ASU, but actually some of their societies are quite interesting, so I invite different societies to come down to Grey once a month and have their weekly session here instead. That way we have a night that doesn't ask for much commitment, but gives you guys a chance to do something different. I'd also bring back birthday bubble trips, again, something that's been done before, but with enough planning I think it's really feasible to feature ways to get out of Durham. I've got some more ideas surrounding the college community, but I'm probably running out of time, so I'm going to be a bit more brief. I'd love to expand the subject leadership programme, it's been great, there's more stuff we can do with that. I continue work on the NCR merger, even though it's gone through, that are kind of practical logistics thought about, like Freshers Week and so on. And in terms of Freshers Week, I've had some chats with George about that, and when the incoming VP comes in, we'll discuss that more and look at kind of integral stuff. If I had to describe myself in 3 words when it comes to Grey, it'd be passionate, experienced and approachable, things I think are indispensable when it comes to the role of president. In many ways, it doesn't matter about all the things that I want to do, because it's more important that you guys believe that your president is someone who supports you and enables you to do what you want. Should you choose me, I'd be incredibly committed to being someone that you could truly be proud for your pres. Once again, thank you so much for coming tonight and giving me and the other candidates asking tonight a listen. It goes to show that you are invested in this place and you care about its future. Please do vote across tonight and tomorrow. It would be great if you did choose me and could say that you can indeed count on Caton to be our next JCR president, and I look forward to your questions.
Any questions for Miss Caton?
Oh, I did it correctly. Say that because our good old president pronounced my name wrong in Boston.
Do we have any questions for Miss Caton? Sorry, that was a bit facetious. Caton, I like that. Anyway, back to official business. That's what you elected me for. Mr. White.
As president, you would technically be head of welfare. Could you just get your opinion on that just generally, and more specifically on how do you think you'll cope with the stresses and strains that that might bring, especially regarding things like confidentiality?
I think whilst the president is technically head of welfare, welfare does operate in its own way, and that's why you've got the male welfare officer, the female welfare officer. They're there to head of welfare and support that. I think the president, from what I've spoken to him about it, and Nick, the president comes into it when there's a really serious issue and it's something the president, they should be told about. But in many instances, male welfare officers, I can't get the words out today, male and female welfare officers are perfectly capable of handling the majority of problems, and the president comes in for referral of serious issues. And your second question about dealing with confidentiality and distress. In terms of confidentiality, I suppose when you're on exec, obviously you've got the anonymous feedback system. Sometimes you hear things about you yourself in your exec position or your friends when they've been in exec positions, and people hit back with feedback that's not necessarily great, or you might have known someone who's posting feedback but you're not allowed to say that. And I think it's a situation where I've learned how to deal with confidentiality and handling that and when it's appropriate to say things. On the welfare front, obviously there are times when you have to breach confidentiality if the student is at harm to themselves or others, and that's at the highest possible level, and until then you breach confidentiality. Is that answer?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Mr. Hockedy, please.
What do you believe the greatest long-term threat to this JCR is?
The long-term effect?
Threat.
If you look around, we have empty seats. A lot of you in the room are very invested members of JCR, but quite a few of you are finalists. So when it comes to meetings next year, what's going to happen when we've got to pass motions and there aren't any fashions around? What happens when things need to get done and positions are empty? There's no one there in the first place. JCR's not going to move. I'm not saying that everyone's apathetic and they're going to get involved, but I think it's something we really need to think about. But that's the start of JCR meetings. Thinking about why we're here in the first place, getting more people to understand that. Because without stuff that we do here, there's many things in JCR can't actually happen.
Mr. Young.
You talk about helping JCR exec members achieving their goals. You discussed doing that.
Yeah.
Do you think the measures that you said would be all that's necessary? And if there is any other way you'd help them rather than just publicising, what would that be?
I think my main kind of idea for that was to, when someone gets elected, kind of sit down and say, well done, get into a position, what do you want to achieve with this, what are your expectations? And I think if people from the start know where they want to go, and they've got a target that they want to aim, they're more likely to get stuff done. I've sat on exec before, and people have got to the end, and they're like, oh, I'm writing my own office report now, I should my manifesto, and oh, there's all this stuff that I said I do and haven't done, or I better do it quickly because I said I do it. And in the comment, that's not why you're there on exec. People have voted you in for those reasons. And I think that if you have that intention, you realise that from the beginning, then I think that's the way to help you work. And you kind of, if you're made to throw miles away out, if you're made more accountable, and people know about it, you're more likely to do the job and just you get questioned more.
Ryan?
On that note, when you come to the end of your term as president to be elected, what's the one thing that you would like to sit back and say, yeah, I'm really proud of that achievement?
Nick asked me this when I was intending to run, and at first I think you look at college and you think there's so much that can change and so much can happen. And I think at the moment, in JCR itself, there's a lot of people, there are pockets of people who use the JCR, but I think at the moment it doesn't feel like home for a lot of people. And for me, I love it, but I know that not everyone does. And you talk to students who were here like 6-7 years ago, and they have this great sense of nostalgia about how they used to come in all the time and they do all these things, and I just want it to feel more like a room for everyone. But that's something I think that will automatically change when we have the redevelopment plans. And it's hard to quite say that now because I've seen some of the plans, but they haven't all been approved, and it's just something that we'll have to work through. I hope we can achieve.
Any further questions? Yes, Nick.
Just being like a full-time member of staff with JCR, the role can sometimes be demanding to the point that the president de facto are the two people that are paid to be there, not volunteering all the time. Kind of two questions. How would you manage that for yourself? And how would you manage that for members of the exec, for volunteers around the college? You have to balance their JCR opportunities with their degree and their personal life?
So in terms of working as a member of staff and balancing out, I think personally myself, I know how I am when I get stressed. My guitar is the dream because sometimes I just take time out and I know I have to calm myself down and I don't need to too much just to chill out a bit. I think it also would depend very much on who the taxo is, if we have a taxo next year. And working with them and knowing that getting the balance right between our working relationship and knowing that if I'm feeling too much or they're kind of stressed, being able to balance each other out and look out for each other, because that's really important. If you don't get on with your taxo, you're working in that office with them, you hope that works out because that affects the entire JCR. In terms of supporting your exec, I know having to do tireless amounts of minutes that sometimes life runs away with you, but it's about when you kind of sit down with your exec and you kind of, I think just keeping up with them and asking them every now and then, how are you doing, is there anything you're struggling with, what the kind of next couple of weeks are looking like for you, have you got any deadlines, have you thought about how this is going to impact your work, and if you can think about that and have the foresight to see that, someone keep checking up on you. I think some people don't always know where to look out for themselves, so just making sure the rounds are there for them, trying to pick up on where they need help as well. Obviously I think with exec positions there's a certain amount of they're there to do their role and the president is there to facilitate that. The president should be doing the job sort of the exec, but you should be the one person to recognise actually maybe this role is a bit too much, maybe we need to think about why we're doing this first.
Yes, Rob?
As a trustee, you are tasked with looking out for the long-term future of the JCR. That generally means 5 or 10 years, so a long time after anybody in this room will be gone. But you also have to consider the very immediate short term, often within the next hour, 2 hours, or the next day or week. How would you balance these two responsibilities, and which do you think is the most important?
I think I would argue that as a trustee, it's probably looking at the long term is more important because every member of the JCR is wrapped up in the day-to-day running. As a trustee, you're probably one of the only people, you're one of the people who's responsible for looking at the long term, that's what we're there for. And without that kind of long term goal, if you don't know where you're headed, you're kind of coming around day-to-day, you're following along, it's very easy to get lost. But I think if you kind of have that foresight in the back of your mind, thinking, okay, in 5 years we're going to do this and that, we're moving in this direction, that will help. Day-to-day running the JCR is also very important, but obviously in a different way.
Any further questions for Miss? We'll take Nathan, Gillian, and then...
I'll go after Nick has a question. How can JCR support you, Courtney?
How can it support me?
Yeah. How can
Okay, here's a story. I didn't know anyone when I came to Durham at all. When I think back on this, I think I was probably a bit mental. New town, just completely new, and I'm at this point now where I am surrounded by a bunch of lovely friends, and I'm friends for a while. And I'd say that the JCR, that I think that would be the JCR's way of supporting me to use. Yeah.
Unlike many other roles in exec, luckily or unluckily enough, you happen to have a mini person following you around, namely the vice president. So, Nick and I have a very good...
That's a good way to describe it.
Proof that Nick and I can get angry. I sometimes shout when I probably shouldn't. But on a more serious note, how exactly do you see the relationship between yourself and a deputy president working?
Well, the vice president is there to deputise for the president. I think it's really important that you keep the VP as informed as possible. You know, so there's some reason that I couldn't be around, the VP's got to be the person to step up. And whilst the tax is going to be around, it is currently the job of the VP to step up if something goes wrong. And so I think it's about, just keeping them informed, kind of keeping up with them, kind of every week in the minimum, maybe twice a week, just kind of, hey, how's it going, how are you, this is what's going on. Just laughing at me. So I think once, hopefully we have a VP that's elected, I would take the time to really get to know them because I'm going to need to depend on them across the next year. and they're going to depend on me. And if our working relationship isn't great, then it's not good for you guys. So I'd be really committed to making sure that worked. Yeah.
Are there any further questions? Nick?
What do you find most difficult about being president?
I am really passionate. I really like getting involved with things. And I think sometimes I need to know when the line was that you're keeping so many things afloat that you need to know that you can't be 100% invested in just one thing. You've got to keep all of that. And so I think taking the time to make sure that I'm giving everyone who needs my support the right amount of time and care, I think would be really important. And that would be really difficult, but something that I believe I can achieve.
Are there any further questions for Paul? Well, please give a huge round of applause, ladies